I could hear the faint echoes in my mind, resounding like a never-ending melody. They haunted me day and night, whispering secrets of the past that I thought were long forgotten. It had been years since I left my small hometown to pursue my dreams in the big city, but somehow I couldn't escape the echoes of my past. The town was known for its picturesque landscapes and warm, welcoming people. However, hidden beneath the surface were secrets and scandals that many chose to ignore. My family was no exception. We were a broken unit, struggling to survive in a place where everyone knew everything about us. As I walked down the familiar streets, memories flooded back with every step. The abandoned house on the corner where we used to play hide and seek as kids. It now stood tall and eerie, like a ghost of our childhoods. The coffee shop where we would meet after school, now replaced by a shiny new mall. But it was our old house that held the most significant memories for me. It still looked as grand as ever, but now it held an air of desolation and sadness. This was where everything began, our downfall as a family. My father had always been obsessed with power and status in the town, even at the cost of his own family's well-being. He pushed us to our limits, trying to mold us into something he deemed perfect in his eyes. My mother became collateral damage in this pursuit for perfection, her spirit broken by his constant criticism and emotional abuse. And well, let's just say I wasn't one to conform easily. I rebelled against their expectations and ran away from home when I turned 18, determined never to return again. But here I was, back in this town that held more pain than happiness for me. As if summoned by my thoughts, my brother appeared before me on the empty street leading up to our old house. His face was gaunt and weary, his once bright eyes now dull and lifeless. "Hey," he said, avoiding my gaze. "Hey," I replied, unsure of how to react after all these years. We stood in silence for a moment before he finally spoke up. "I'm sorry for everything. I should have stood up to Dad and protected you and Mom." Tears welled up in my eyes as I saw the pain in my brother's words. We had both suffered at the hands of our father, but never talked about it until now. "It's not your fault," I said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We're here now, and we can move forward together." With those words, we both felt a weight being lifted off our shoulders. It was time to let go of the echoes of our past and start anew. As the days went by, my brother and I reconnected over shared memories, laughter, and tears. We also discovered that our mother had left town soon after I did to escape from our toxic environment. She had found solace in a small coastal village, living a peaceful life away from the shadows of our past. This knowledge brought us some comfort, knowing she had finally found peace. We decided to renovate our old house, transforming it from a symbol of our painful past into a beacon of hope and new beginnings. As we tore down walls and rebuilt, we also began to heal the emotional scars that had plagued us for so long. One evening, as we sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the horizon, my brother turned to me and said, "You know, it's ironic. Dad wanted us to be perfect in his eyes, but it was our imperfections that made us stronger." I nodded, understanding the truth in his words. Our father's obsession with perfection had driven us apart, but it was our resilience and determination to overcome our struggles that had brought us back together. As we continued to rebuild our lives, we realized that the echoes of our past no longer haunted us. Instead, they served as reminders of the strength and courage we had found within ourselves. We had learned to forgive, to let go, and to embrace the future with open hearts and minds. The town that once held so much pain for us had now become a place of healing and hope. And as we stood together, looking out at the world before us, we knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, stronger and more resilient than ever before. The ghosts of childhood. The small town of Willow Creek was a place where time seemed to stand still. Nestled in a valley surrounded by lush forests and rolling hills, it was a picture-perfect postcard of rural charm. Yet, beneath its idyllic surface, the town held secrets that its residents preferred to keep hidden. For me, Willow Creek was a place of bittersweet memories, a town where I had experienced both the joys of childhood and the sorrows of a fractured family. Growing up, my brother Daniel and I were inseparable. We spent our days exploring the woods, building forts, and playing games of make-believe. Our imaginations knew no bounds, and the world was our playground. But as we grew older, the cracks in our family began to show. Our father, Richard, was a man driven by ambition. As the owner of the town's largest lumber mill, he wielded significant influence and power. He was determined to maintain his status and demanded perfection from everyone around him, especially his family. Our mother, Laura, was a gentle soul who tried her best to keep the peace. But the constant pressure and criticism from our father took a toll on her spirit. As a teenager, I began to rebel against my father's expectations. I refused to conform to his rigid standards and sought solace in art and music, pursuits he deemed frivolous and unworthy. Our clashes became more frequent and intense, driving a wedge between us that only grew wider with time. Daniel, on the other hand, tried to appease our father, but it was clear that the strain was taking its toll on him as well. The turning point came on my 18th birthday. After a particularly heated argument with my father, I packed my bags and left Willow Creek, vowing never to return. I pursued my dreams in the big city, immersing myself in a world of creativity and freedom. Yet, despite the distance, the memories of my past continued to haunt me. Years later, a phone call from Daniel changed everything. Our father had passed away, and Daniel needed my help to settle the affairs of our family estate. Reluctantly, I returned to Willow Creek, unsure of what to expect. As I walked down the familiar streets, the memories came rushing back. The abandoned house on the corner where we used to play hide and seek as kids, it now stood tall and eerie, like a ghost of our childhoods. The coffee shop where we would meet after school, now replaced by a shiny new mall. But it was our old house that held the most significant memories for me. It still looked as grand as ever, but now it held an air of desolation and sadness. When I arrived at the house, I found Daniel waiting for me on the porch. His face was gaunt and weary, his once bright eyes now dull and lifeless. It was clear that the years had not been kind to him. "Hey," he said, avoiding my gaze. "Hey," I replied, unsure of how to react after all these years. We stood in silence for a moment before he finally spoke up. "I'm sorry for everything. I should have stood up to Dad and protected you and Mom." Tears welled up in my eyes as I saw the pain in my brother's words. We had both suffered at the hands of our father, but never talked about it until now. "It's not your fault," I said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We're here now, and we can move forward together." With those words, we both felt a weight being lifted off our shoulders. It was time to let go of the echoes of our past and start anew. Rebuilding. The decision to renovate our old house was not an easy one. It was a symbol of our painful past, but we knew that transforming it could also symbolize our journey toward healing and redemption. As we tore down walls and rebuilt, we began to uncover not just the physical layers of the house, but also the emotional layers of our memories and experiences. Each room held its own story. The living room, where our family would gather for dinner, was a place of both laughter and tension. The kitchen, where our mother would hum softly as she cooked, reminded us of her gentleness and warmth. The attic, filled with forgotten treasures and relics of our childhood, became a space of reflection and discovery. As we worked, Daniel and I began to reconnect in ways we hadn't since we were children. We shared stories, reminisced about the past, and opened up about our struggles and fears. It was a process of mutual healing as we learned to forgive ourselves and each other for the pain we had endured. One day, while sorting through a box of old photographs, we came across a picture of our mother. She was young and vibrant, her eyes filled with hope and dreams. It was a stark contrast to the woman we had known in later years, worn down by the pressures and demands of our father. "Do you think she ever found happiness?" I asked, staring at the photograph. "I hope so," Daniel replied. "She deserved so much more than what she got." We decided to search for her, hoping to find closure and perhaps even reconciliation. Our journey took us to the small coastal village where she had settled after leaving Willow Creek. It was a place of serenity and beauty, with the sound of waves crashing against the shore and the scent of salt in the air. When we found her, it was as if a weight had been lifted from our hearts. She had aged gracefully, her eyes still holding a spark of the woman she once was. She welcomed us with open arms, and we spent days catching up on lost time, sharing stories, and healing old wounds. Our mother had found peace and contentment in her new life, and seeing her happy brought us a sense of closure. It was a reminder that, despite the pain and struggles of our past, there was always hope for a brighter future. The power of forgiveness. Returning to Willow Creek, Daniel and I continued our work on the house with renewed determination. It became a labor of love as we transformed it from a symbol of our painful past into a beacon of hope and new beginnings. As we rebuilt, we also began to reach out to the community. Willow Creek was a town that thrived on connections and relationships, and we wanted to be a part of that again. We organized events, volunteered, and slowly but surely, we became an integral part of the town's fabric. One day, as we were working on the garden, a familiar face appeared at the gate. It was Mr. Thompson, our old neighbor and one of our father's closest friends. He had always been a stern and imposing figure, but now he seemed frail and vulnerable. "I heard you were back," he said, his voice trembling. "I wanted to say, I'm sorry." His words took us by surprise. Mr. Thompson had always been a staunch supporter of our father, but now he was admitting his own complicity in our family's suffering. "We all knew what was happening," he continued, "but we turned a blind eye. Your father was a powerful man, and we were afraid. But that doesn't excuse our actions. I'm truly sorry for what you went through." Daniel and I exchanged a glance, and I could see the turmoil in his eyes. Forgiveness was not easy, especially when the wounds were so deep. But I also knew that holding on to anger and resentment would only keep us trapped in the past. "It's in the past now," I said, my voice steady. "We've all made mistakes. What matters is that we learn from them and move forward." Mr. Thompson nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. "Thank you," he said softly. "Thank you for your forgiveness." It was a powerful moment, one that underscored the importance of letting go of the past and embracing the future with an open heart. Forgiveness was not about condoning the actions that had caused us pain, but about freeing ourselves from the chains of bitterness and anger, embracing imperfections. As the renovations on the house neared completion, Daniel and I took a moment to reflect on our journey. The house had transformed from a place of pain and sorrow into a symbol of hope and renewal. It was a testament to our resilience and determination, to overcome the struggles of our past. One evening, as we sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the horizon, Daniel turned to me and said, "You know, it's ironic. Dad wanted us to be perfect in his eyes, but it was our imperfections that made us stronger." I nodded, understanding the truth in his words. Our father's obsession with perfection had driven us apart, but it was our resilience and determination to overcome our struggles that had brought us back together. "We've come a long way," I said, a smile spreading across my face, "and I think we've finally found our way back to each other." As we continued to rebuild our lives, we realized that the echoes of our past no longer haunted us. Instead, they served as reminders of the strength and courage we had found within ourselves. We had learned to forgive, to let go, and to embrace the future with open hearts and minds. The town that once held so much pain for us had now become a place of healing and hope. And as we stood together, looking out at the world before us, we knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, stronger and more resilient than ever before. A new beginning. With the house finally completed, Daniel and I decided to host a gathering to celebrate our new beginning. We invited friends, neighbors, and members of the community who had supported us throughout our journey. It was a time of reflection and celebration, a moment to honor the past while looking forward to the future. As the guests arrived, the house came alive with laughter, music, and conversation. It was a stark contrast to the silence and desolation that had once filled its halls. The transformation was a testament to the power of resilience, forgiveness, and the strength of the human spirit. During the gathering, Daniel and I took a moment to address our guests. Standing on the porch, we looked out at the faces of those who had been a part of our journey. "Thank you all for being here," Daniel began, his voice filled with emotion. "This house and our journey would not have been possible without your support and love. We have faced many challenges, but we have also found strength and hope in each other and in this community." I continued, "This house is more than just a building. It is a symbol of our resilience and determination to overcome the struggles of our past. It is a reminder that no matter how difficult the journey, we can find our way back to each other and to ourselves." The crowd erupted in applause, and I felt a sense of gratitude and fulfillment wash over me. We had come full circle from a place of pain and sorrow to one of healing and hope. As the evening drew to a close, Daniel and I stood together, watching the stars twinkle in the night sky. We knew that our journey was far from over, but we were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. Echoes of hope. Years later, Willow Creek had changed in many ways, but the essence of the town remained the same. It was still a place of picturesque landscapes and warm, welcoming people. However, it was now also a place of healing and hope, a testament to the strength of the human spirit. The house that had once been a symbol of our painful past was now a vibrant community center, a place where people gathered to share stories, support each other, and celebrate the beauty of life. It was a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter how dark the past, there was always a path to healing and renewal. Daniel and I continued to be an integral part of the community, using our experiences to help others who were struggling with their own challenges. We had learned that true strength came from embracing our imperfections and finding the courage to forgive and move forward. As I stood on the porch of our house, now a bustling community center, I could hear the faint echoes in my mind. But this time, they were not the whispers of pain and sorrow. They were the echoes of hope, resilience, and the promise of a brighter future. Our journey had taught us that the past did not define us. It was our ability to overcome it that truly mattered. And as I looked out at the faces of those who had become our extended family, I knew that we had finally found our way home. The story of Willow Creek and our journey was a testament to the power of resilience, forgiveness, and the strength of the human spirit. It was a reminder that no matter how difficult the challenges we face, we have the ability to overcome them and find hope and healing. As the echoes of our past faded into the background, we embraced the future with open hearts and minds, ready to face whatever lay ahead, together, stronger and more resilient than ever before. The journey of healing and forgiveness is a deeply personal one, and each person's path may look different. This story is a reflection of the struggles, pain, and ultimate triumph that comes from facing our past and embracing the future with courage and hope. It is a reminder that we are not alone in our struggles and that there is always a path to healing and renewal.